Piper Whalen with Alberta Beef Producers, and this summer, the Bovine was on location at the Canadian Beef Industry Conference in Calgary. As part of the conference, the Canadian Cattle Youth Council welcomed Brenna Grant, Executive Director of Canfax Research Services, to speak about 8 key recommendations for new producers, as informed by the Canadian Cow-Calf Cost of Production Network. I caught up with Brenna after her presentation, and she shared her 3 favorite recommendations from this list.
The first one is not something that a lot of producers mentioned, but was actually implicit in their answers. And that was setting up a record-keeping system. It's, pick it, whatever it is. It can be paper, it can be, spreadsheets, it can be an app. There's lots of options out there, but pick it, populate it, and review it. It does you no good if it just sits and collects dust. The whole point of having records is to help you make informed decisions on your operation.
Wonderful. What's your second recommendation?
So the second one was multifaceted. Producers talked about resource management. And really this was about, doing that high leverage work that's going to give you the biggest return for your time spent on it. And this is like really working on the business instead of working in the business. So it's what are those infrastructure investments that you're going to do in terms of water or fencing or corrals, how are you going to set those up, but also who are some of the professionals that you're going to consult with and leverage their knowledge, whether that's a nutritionist or a veterinarian. So the second part of this is probably because it's top of mind the last few years, is about having a drought management plan. And producers talked about doing this in different ways. One of the big things about the network is there's so much variety from coast to coast on cow-calf operations, working in different environments and having production systems that are adapted to those environments. But having a drought plan is about helping you get through those times when you emotionally are so stressed that you can't think. And so it's a plan that tells you what are your trigger dates in terms of what kind of decisions you need to make, but also then if you don't have rain by those points or if you don't have grass, what to do. Is there a type of cattle that you're going to sell first, or is there a different type of plan? And I gave 2 examples of 2 operations, both my parents' place as well as my sister's place. They're only 30 miles apart, and they have instituted very different drought management plans in the last 3 years. And so recognize that the plan that works for your neighbor might not necessarily work for you if you're at a different stage in your operation as a new producer. You might not have the flexibility and options as a mature operation. So making sure that you have those plans in place, because when you're at day 3 of selecting 10-year-old cows to cull and they have amazing calves on side, you get to a point where you just don't want to do it anymore, but you're doing it because the plan says to do it, because you know it's going to be the thing that protects the long-term survivability of your operation.
Right. Very timely advice at this point. So what is the third recommendation that you wanted to share with us today?
So this was actually a different question from those focus groups, and that was, what is your definition of success? And actually understanding how you personally define success on your operation so that you know what to aim for. And I gave them the example of the movie Moneyball, which is about a baseball team back in 2001-2002 that basically had only 1/3 of the budget of their competitors. And as they were trying to go out and replace players, and they weren't competitive in terms of what they could pay for, they had an economist come along and say, you're going about this all wrong. You're trying to buy players when you should be buying runs, because runs give wins. And over the course of that season, they were able to put together a mismatched team of undervalued players that allowed them to win 20 consecutive games. And so often, we get what we aim for. And if we're aiming for the wrong thing, we're going to end up in a place where we don't want to go. And so being really careful in terms of thinking of what is your definition of success for your operation to make sure that you're aiming where you want to go.
Excellent. So where can listeners learn more about these recommendations?
So all of the materials from the Cost of Production Network are available at canfax.ca. And if you go under resources, there is COP results, but also COP analysis. And under COP analysis, there's going to be fact sheets about all of the other recommendations for new producers, as well as webinars and other resources there about our future farm scenarios for people to look at. And just a reminder that over the last 3 years, we've had over 225 producers participate in the network, and we've created 56 different benchmark farms. And these are representative of the different production systems and variety that we have from coast to coast in the environments that producers are operating in. And we're so thankful for the funding that we've received from the Beef Cattle Research Council and Cargill to continue this program for the next 5 years.
Sounds excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today, Brenna.
Thank you, and have a great day.